Well, we're going to be talking about debating a bit. We'll actually practice one. Hopefully that'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I haven't prepared what I'm going to say, so we're on level playing field here. But I wonder, in your life or work, how often do you find yourself having disagreements with people that you have to figure out or resolve through conversation? I mean, does it happen pretty often? Do you have regular conflicts with your team at work or with family members or friends?
No, not a lot.
Hmm.
At work, almost nothing. But it depends on the field and depends who I'm interacting with. But usually, I'm interacting most of the time with my wife, and after 13 years of uh, life together, we already discussed almost everything. But we still have
You
some
should
disagreements.
you should write a book about that, about how to get to that point.
Mm.
Because my wife and I are still having the classic disagreements after 10 years. Maybe it takes three more. Then we'll solve everything after three more.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so for work, you would say you have a low conflict work environment, not much disagreement, not much arguing about things,
Mhm.
not much room for other people's points of view causing some kind of problem.
Yeah, no, because I work in really big company, so if some people disagree with each other, they just asking someone um, who they can ask for the help or for the opinion usually.
Right. And so if you were not working in a big company and you were working in, for example, a startup company, it would be probably a very different story. I
Uh, Probably.
Yeah, I spent 4 years, 4.5 years in a startup company, and that was every day was a disagreement about something. But I mean, it's a fun process. It's an exciting process to disagree and kind of not fight, but argue about what's the right way to do something. I find it very interesting. Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to explore a couple of ways that we can debate and then give it a try. Uh, can you think of any benefit to having a debate? Actually, first, let's say, do you know the difference between a debate and an argument?
Um, for me, argument is something you are um, um, expressing to anyone, to someone,
Hmm.
in order to give them an idea what you meaning. But a debate is like an action, what you are doing in order to achieve some agreement.
It's interesting that you mentioned it that way because they have two different meanings.
Mm.
So you said an argument is something that you say to try to convince someone of something, and that is correct. So if you have a belief or an opinion about something and you want to give reasons to support that thing, you would you would make you would make an argument. And that's like putting together the pieces and then expressing it and hopefully convincing someone. It's similar to the word case. To make a case for something would be to put all the pieces together and express it. However, then there's the other meaning of argument. If we use the word have instead of make, it changes completely.
Mhm. Mhm.
What would be the difference in meaning with have instead of make? Have an argument instead of make an argument. Totally different.
Mhm. So have an argument may be similar to have a fight, like
Yes.
you are disagreeing in something. Yeah.
That's where it gets a little confusion because this or confusing. This one word has two very different connotations. Those two people are having an argument. As soon as we hear that, we picture rah, 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 that sort of thing. If you make an argument, that doesn't mean you're yelling. It means you're clearly stating a case or a position or a reason why you believe something. So, yeah, good. I'm glad you mentioned that. The debate would be just this ongoing process. So, debate usually has a level of respect, rules, listening to the other person, and not sort of talking over them, waiting for them to finish their point, and often taking a position or taking a view that may not even be completely what you think for the sake of figuring out something, for the sake of, we could say, I mentioned the startup thing, right? Sometimes I'll take an opinion on one extreme, and someone else will take an opinion on the other extreme. Actually, both of us are in the middle. But if we take opposite positions, then we might be able to maybe really explore the pros and cons, or the good points and the bad points, or explore. Oops, that's an O. All possible avenues. Have you heard that expression before?
Avenues? No.
So,
Like I know what
and
avenues means, but not in this case.
avenue is a big road, right? So exploring all possible avenues is a common expression that's used to mean we haven't considered every little detail of this.
Mm.
So, or every option that we have. So if we have a debate, we might at least be able to see something we didn't see before, or notice something we were blind to before, because we took two opposite views. Whereas usually we're
Mm.
kind of in the middle, and we have a bunch of assumptions and we think certain things, and we're not seeing the big picture. Are you one more phrase I want to talk about before we get into the how part? Have you heard of a devil's advocate before?
Is it a movie? Yeah.
I think it is, but it comes from I think it is. I think it comes from an expression, though. I think the expression came before the movie.
Yeah. No, no, I haven't seen it.
So actually, you're bringing up a lot of interesting things. Do you remember what that movie is about?
No.
Is that the one with Keanu Reeves? I think
Mm,
maybe. I think that's a play on words where they're using that expression, and there's actually the devil is actually in the movie, and the advocate is the one representing the devil. Devil's advocate in regular ordinary life just means I'm going to disagree with you because
mhm,
that's useful. And often you'll hear the
mhm,
word play in front of it. So let me play devil's advocate. Play devil's advocate.
mhm.
I'm going to completely disagree with what you just said. Why would I want to do that? Why would that be useful? Why might that be a useful thing to do?
Sorry, which one?
If I say, okay, so let's say, for example, you tell me that you're going to buy, you have a great idea. You're going to buy an apartment building as an
Mhm,
investment, and you think this is going to be a great thing for you, and maybe it is, and rent it out to people. And I say, let me just play devil's advocate. If you do that, the amount of hassle that you will outweigh the benefit of owning this apartment building. All of the tenants and insurance and taxes, it's going to be a burden, and your life is going to be worse by owning it. That may not even be my real opinion. I'm just standing on the opposite side to point out some things that you maybe didn't consider because you're too excited about your idea.
mhm. So you're basically just trying to watch on something from the other point of view in order to find the the possible cons or possible disadvantages, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe find some blind spots or things you didn't see before. And usually
Mm-hmm.
it's play. For some reason, it's usually play devil's advocate. I'm not sure why. I guess it's a role that you play. You pretend to be someone who disagrees with everything. Usually you're doing it for a positive reason, though. Usually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we get into actually trying this out, what do you think about convincing somebody of something that they don't think? Are you aware of any ways to do that? If somebody doesn't believe what you believe and you want to try to maybe not totally convince them, but make them really consider your side, have you ever used any methods, or do you know any methods for doing that?
Yeah, like before the stream, I was thinking about it, about the topics for today's stream, and I remembered the method of is it sandwich or something like that. And
Sandwich? Yeah,
yeah, and
I
I
know that one.
maybe learned it from you. I don't remember exactly, but probably.
Perhaps
So yeah, when you're trying to convince someone or to say something bad, maybe you
feedback.
start to like something bad, something not pleasant to someone. You need to start with something good or to cheer up someone, and after that you are telling the truth or what you
Yeah.
think that is not a pleasant information, and you're finishing with something pleasant
So I
again.
think yeah, it's the bun on top, and then the real. This is a gross sandwich. It's like a burger with some cheese on top, and then the other one. And I think the idea is that the top and the bottom bun are kind of just carbs. It's not really, there's no real meat there, but you need that
Mm.
in order to hold the the meat, the stuff, the protein, the stuff that you're really getting from the burger. So for feedback, it would be something nice. For a debate, it might be something like, well, you have a good point about this, but
Mhm.
then you say that. So you first acknowledge another person's point. Yeah, what you said there, that's totally true. I agree with that. However, then disagree. Say the opposite
Mhm.
view in some way, and then finish with, but I think your point about X is really valid or interesting or something like that. You don't even have to say I agree. You could just say, that's a very, you could just call it interesting,
Mhm.
or that's a cool idea. You're not really saying I agree. You're just saying, you're just sort of appreciating the idea as a thing, and then you disagree. That's a good way to do it. Yeah, I like that. It's a really disgusting burger I've made here. I, have you ever watched American courtroom TV shows?
Courtroom? No, but I think we have a alternative in Russia.
Is it a lie? Is it a real situation? I mean, reality show, or
No,
you mean it's a drama in the courtroom?
it's drama in courtroom. It's fake, but someone believes it's real. I guess.
Well, it's a whole genre of TV. It's becoming less popular, but especially in the early 2000s, TV shows like Law and Order and Boston Legal, shows like that, it's all based on a case in a courtroom and then the
Mhm.
drama around that case. Often, when you hear people in a courtroom talking about or trying to force someone into a statement, they'll say either isn't it true that, and then they'll frame it as a question, or they'll say if that were true. So this, we could say, these are two ways of kind of poking holes in someone's case. You think that I'm going to kind of, it's like a bag of water. I'm going to poke some holes in it, and the more holes I poke in it, the weaker it looks. So this is not the sandwich method, although I think that's a good method too. This is a way to say uh, all of these things that you think individually, I'm going to show that they're weak or wrong, and then I'm going to say my opinion and kind of death by a thousand cuts your argument. Isn't it true that is something you often hear in courtroom dramas? It would be something like, if we're debating about, I don't know, policies for people having children. So one side thinks that we should give every parent who has a kid a $50,000 tax break because we're having fewer and fewer children. For example, in Japan, the rate of birth is going down. There's a debate around that. Well, you would say something like, isn't it true that the birth rate is declining year over year? And if it's a fact that I say, and it's on my side, you have to say, yeah, that's true. You're forced into saying yes, kind of. Isn't it
Mm-hmm.
true? It's kind of like pointing a finger in your face and saying, isn't it true? And you kind of have to say yes. But if I say 5 of those, it makes my side look stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite useful. It can be a little rude, but it can be also very useful. Especially if you want to show
So it's
someone.
like a method of convincing.
It's a method of it's even if they never change their view, people watching might.
Mm-hmm.
Will never convince them, but the other people sitting around looking at it might start thinking, oh yeah, that is true. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
true too. Oh, that one's true as well. You kind of just add it up and force them to say yes to things that are on your side. That's a common one you see in a courtroom. Have you heard this one before? If that were true?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Do you know how it would be used? This is a little different.
Like what's the difference and which one to use when?
Well, let's just focus on this second one here. So we've got the isn't it true that this is pretty simple because all you have to do is make a statement. Isn't it true that bananas are yellow? Isn't it true that anything you want to say, and as long as it is true, it's I don't know what debate we would be having about bananas, but this one though is a little different. It's a bit softer. It's usually an if that were true and then a why question. Do you remember where you've heard that one before?
The second one is seems like it's condition, not a
Mm-hmm.
condition, but like
It
a
is a condition.
question. So it's
It's a
yeah.
conditional question. Exactly. I'll give you an example, then maybe you can think of one as well. Okay. Let's say the topic is something like, I don't know if you know that in the United States, uh, the climate change stuff. A lot of people don't even believe it's real. I think it's made up. Whether you think so or
Is it
not,
happening only in United States?
climate change, and it's only happening for people who believe it's happening. And if you don't believe it's happening, it's not happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's say that's the thing that people are discussing, and you've made a statement that you think is true, but I want to show something that I think shows the opposite is true.
Mhm.
So I say, if that were true, that being the thing you just said, why? And then make an exact opposite thing that basically cancels it. So
Mhm.
you say electric cars are never going to be popular. Okay. I don't know if that's true or not, just a statement. And I say, if that were true, why are electric car sales increasing year over year? What I said cancels what you said. And you use why because then it kind of throws it in their face. Like, okay, you think this? Well, then why this? And then they have to sit there with that question and think about how to respond. It's quite useful. It can be
Mhm.
quite useful.
Mhm.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right. Can you think of an example of this one? Anything come to mind?
If that were true.
Okay, how about this? I'll give you a basic prompt, okay?
Hmm.
Something crazy. Bananas are deadly.
Deadly?
Deadly, yes. Bananas are deadly. The bananas are the most toxic fruit on the planet.
If bananas were deadly, why so much people can eat them and don't die?
Right. That's perfect. So, but now note what you said is not if that were true, why is it not true? What you said is a little
Hmm.
more than that. You said if that were true,
Hmm.
why do so many people eat them and not die? So you have to say something a little different than my statement that shows that I'm wrong, rather than just saying, if that were true, why is it not true directly? It would be
Hmm.
too simple. So what you said is actually perfect, I think is good. All right. I think we can give it a try. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I'm going to give you a choice of, okay, we'll go through. I have 3 possible topics. I'm going to give you a choice of topics. I'll let you choose the topic, and then I'll let you choose the side you want. So I'll give you all the choice, okay?
Okay.
Okay, 3 statements. Number 1, life is better with social media. Life is better with social media. Okay.
Hmm.
Number 2, uh, all citizens should get a universal basic income. Do you know what that is?
Hmm. Yeah.
Everybody just gets $5,000 no matter what. Okay. Number 3, we should put resources or money into space exploration, exploring space.
Hmm.
Okay, of those 3, which one do you think is more interesting? Social media, universal basic income, we can call it UBI, or space exploration.
All of them are interesting, and I can debate on all of them.
All right, well, let's start with one. Let's see how it goes with one.
Okay.
You want to you want to go with social media? Start with that one?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, you have to pick a side. When you pick a side for a debate, it's generally better if you are hard on one side. If we're both kind of floating around in the middle, then it's not a very interesting debate because we're always saying, "Oh yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I agree." And then it just becomes a conversation,
Hmm.
which is boring. So, you
Hmm.
kind of have to be extreme. You have to pick a side and then stay on that side and kind of never give the other side any room. Uh, so life is better with social media or not?
I will say better.
Okay, so I will be okay. So in this case, the statement is life is better with social media. You are for this position. This meaning of for means you are pro this position. You agree with it, and I am against. Okay, so just to label this for everybody, right?
The last one is K, not C.
Oh, it's K.
Yeah.
Oh. I find it so fascinating that your nickname is longer than your. So this is your birth name. This is the name on your
Yeah.
government ID, and this
Yeah.
is your nickname.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm sorry, I find it fascinating. It's like I'm trying to think of an example. I think there's an example of a country whose adjective is longer than the noun, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But it's unusual. Oh, here's an example. My wife's given name, her birth name is Jing, Jing. But the name that everyone calls her, not just me, but everybody, friends, family, is Mushroom.
Mm.
It's way longer. So,
But it's just a nickname, right?
well, yeah, I guess so. But so is yours, right?
No, it's not a nickname. Like almost every Vitaly in Russia would be Vitalik by default. So it's not a nickname. It's just a regular name for
Oh.
Vitaly.
And not every Jing is a mushroom.
Yeah.
That would be weird. Well, okay, fair enough. It is, I guess it's a nickname, but everybody uses it. It's not like just me. It's my parents call her that, and her friends,
Mhm.
my friends. Um, Interesting. All right, back to the thing. So, a lot of people spell my name like this. It drives me crazy. Everyone writes it as Luck. When I see people write my name, they think it's Luck. I don't know why. My my nickname in Chinese is this one
Look.
because it sounds the same. It's Look. So my Chinese
Mhm.
nickname is Kanga. It means sort of like brother. Look.
Mhm.
It's an interesting one. Um, okay, so this is me. Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Yeah, I can start.
Okay, you start.
S- Okay, so I'm making some statement, right?
You're making
I'm
some statements to support the position that social
mhm.
media is life is better with social media.
Yeah, okay. Life is better with social media because social media can be used to connect people from different parts of the world.
Okay. This is kind of a phrase for the sandwich method. Well, I give you a point, but then use that point to disagree. While it may be true that social media does connect more people around the world, there is a general tendency for those connections to cause more disagreements and more negative emotions than positive. So the net is negative, not positive. Yes, more people are connected, but first of all, is it really a connection? For example, on Instagram, when I look at somebody's pictures of their super cool lifestyle that they're living and that looks amazing, am I really connected to them? If I am connected, it's a very thin connection. It's not the same sort of connection I have with a close friend. So I would say, first, connected in what way? Not a very good way, possibly, or at least not very much. And second, when I see that amazing lifestyle, it's likely to cause me to feel depressed, not happy. I don't say, wow, cool beach. What an amazing life. That's great for them. I say, shit, my life is terrible. I wish I was on a beach. I wish I could fly around in private planes. So it's likely to cause me to feel depressed, not happy.
Yeah. Yeah, but you are talking mostly about Instagram in this case, right? Yeah, yeah. Here I agree. But I'm talking more about some regular social. Is social media, social network is the same thing in our
Yeah,
conversation, like
generally, social
Facebook?
media is pretty broad. It's
Yeah.
it's sort of like uh, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
Twitter, all of the large platforms where people interact with each other.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm talking more about Facebook. In this case, people can connect to their relative, to their friends, which live abroad or far away from them. So in this case, they can talk to them, text to them. Like before, people could just talk on the phone,
Hmm.
and before the invention of the phone, they couldn't do even
Well,
phone call.
I'm not going to say that phones are bad. Like we're not talking about telephones. Okay, that's a good point. Now, can we clarify one point? Can we say that a basic chat app like WhatsApp, where you just directly talk with one person, in my mind, is not social media. Social media
Yeah.
usually, right? Social media is usually more you see their timeline maybe on Facebook and pictures
Uh-huh.
of them that they share. That's a little more. So I actually think the chat app could be good because it's a one-on-one connection. Telegram or Signal, WhatsApp. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
I just was going to say that usually chat is included in some social network like
Who uses
Instagram,
those?
Facebook,
Those are
etc.
terrible. Do you use them?
I used to use them, but nowadays I mostly use like only chats like Telegram.
Yeah.
Uh,
I feel like most people are like that. I don't know how many people are having deep conversations in the Instagram chat, direct message chat. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people are, but
my wife
okay.
do.
It makes it a little harder. When I I see my extended family once a year. For the Thanksgiving holiday, I will go back to Ohio from New York and I will see them, and that's great. But I also, throughout the year, I see their posts. Usually it's on Facebook. I see what they're up to. And me seeing what they're up to is a way to not interact with them. In
Hmm.
other words, they post something up there. I see, oh, my cousin, he made a handmade Thor hammer because that's his hobby. He makes stuff out of wood. He likes to do that, and I see it and I give it a like, and that's it. So I'm in a way, by connecting that way, I'm telling myself I connected with my family, but I didn't really, because that's kind of just a like. It's a one way thing. It's almost less interaction.
Yeah, but it depends on what not the settings of publicity, but how publicly this your friend or relative did it. If it's like really publicly, like on a wall on Facebook, yeah, it's kind of like, and that's it. But you can use something like private chats when only relatives have access to. And in this case, if your relative or friend will post something, you will not just hit a like. You can just record an audio message or text something, or you will call with this chat and see all of them. So it's a matter of level of publicity, I would say.
I think that's fair. I think I would just say that while it may be true that you can do that in a lot of cases, many people are not, because they feel that seeing what their friends and family are doing is interaction, and so it makes them lazy, and they don't reach out. They don't text. They don't they don't call them. They do it at least less often because they feel like they have a connection. But actually social media is making the connection lower quality. It's not really a quality connection most of the time. I agree, you can do more. You can send a voice message, but who's doing that? I don't know. Maybe not that many people. Can I make
Yeah,
one
yeah.
other can I make one other point in general? I think
Mhm.
social media makes people more uh, have stronger opinions and more hateful. I think social media makes people angry at other people that they don't even know. If if someone says something that you disagree with, since they're not really there, and you go into the comments and type your opinion, it has an angry feeling to it. If you ever look at a popular YouTube video and you look underneath, it's just rage. People, it's there's so much hatred underneath in comments. So I think that's also a negative thing, because you're not really sitting down and talking with them. If you do that, you will probably be a lot nicer. I think social media makes people bitter and angry and want to just throw out their negative emotions sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just I just recall the video of Elon Musk when he talks about Instagram, that people are really dissatisfied with their life because of Instagram. They see on the perfect pictures of someone's life, and they think like, "Oh, my life isn't the same, is not the same," and because of that, I shouldn't be happy. But it's not because of the social media itself, it's because of how people use it. Because Instagram
Mm-hmm.
started as just a photo app when you can, I don't know, post everything. Yeah, it slowly became what it became, but it can change even further, like not in a bad way, but in something good. I don't know how. I don't know why this happened. Like the Instagram became Instagram in the current state, but it can happen again in a couple of years.
Do you think we're in a transition period where it's maybe going to get better, but right now it's not great? There's negativity.
I it's again a level of publicity. Like on Instagram, I post really rare or something like not significant, but in private chats with my relatives, with my parents, I public much more and more personal things.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I can share the same thing which I post to my parents in Instagram, but I don't do it, and I don't know why. And I'm a proponent of the idea that everyone should post like a lot of the ideas publicly. Um,
But
but
you
people
don't.
don't do it
It's your
usually.
proponent, but you don't do
Yeah,
it.
even me, I don't. Yeah, yeah.
That's a little hypocritical, eh?
Yeah, that's true. But I remember you told that everyone should have a YouTube channel in order to practice English or even your native language, to share ideas, something like this. I remember you told it.
Well, I did say that, but I didn't say that everyone should share all of their opinions on that YouTube channel. I think because I
Um,
think that's a good point because I do believe everyone should have a YouTube channel, but I think if you are always throwing out everything inside of your head, you're going to get back a lot of negative stuff too. So I think it's good to pick a niche and then explore that deeply, but know what you're doing, and it's great. It's a great way to express yourself. But I think if you start just saying everything, you're going to get into wars with other people on social media, and it could cause your quality of life could be destroyed by that.
yeah, I agree, and I believe that what you're saying, not as like it's the same as much as important as how you're saying, because you disagree with that. That you don't want to share everything, but it's a matter of how you're sharing it, I believe. Like, of course, you don't need to share everything, but some people can share something in very polite and fancy way, and in this case, it will be not the same thing as someone else would share it completely differently.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I I really like it's not a channel, but it's a speaker who I sometimes mention named Terrence McKenna, and I've listened to a lot of his lectures, and he says if you actually think about it, a lot of things that are completely insane, but because he speaks in a certain way, you have to process it, and it takes a while to process it. By the time you've processed it, he's moved on to something else. So it's a way to, if you say it the right way, you can say almost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the power of language. Well,
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel that we agree more than we disagree. So
Yes. So it's not a debate, it's just in a conversation.
this is you. Well, this is often what happens in debates if they're not structured
Mhm.
and there's no hard rules and there's no moderator, because a debate you usually want to have some kind of moderator in the middle who's kind of keeping both sides apart. So it's a natural thing. Can I mention a couple of interesting phrases that you used that I like?
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure that people caught it. You said, "I am a proponent of the idea." So you use the word proponent. That's a great phrase. I'm a proponent of the idea. Speaking of fancy speech, can you explain what that means? That phrase, "I'm a proponent of the idea," just in case people don't know, because it's good.
So that basically when you are for something, then you are agree with some idea, and you are um, fully supported.
Yes, but it's a little even more than that. It's kind of active support. Any opportunity you
Mm-hmm.
have to be supportive of it or get it out there, you do that. So you're a proponent of it. You don't just passively sort of say, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
You're a little more proactive about it. So that it's a great
Mm-hmm.
phrase, a proponent of the idea. You also used it's said it's a matter of how, and then matter, this word here. Also a great phrase. I think it's very useful. And you could replace this with when, where, what, and you could put a lot of things there. Do you want to explain what you meant by that?
It's a matter of
It's a matter of how.
um,
You were talking about speech. You said it's not a matter of what, it's a matter of how. Very interesting structure there.
yeah. By this I mean that some characteristics are more important than the others.
Yes, and the emphasis is on some people.
Mm-hmm.
You're acknowledging that some people may focus on the wrong part, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when you use a matter of. It's not a matter of it's a matter of So I'm saying I don't want you to focus on this. I think that the other thing is more important.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say whole phrases there. It's not a matter of how hard you work on something. It's a matter of the way that you are working on it or the method that you use. Because you're shifting focus from one thing to another, and you're telling people that they should shift their focus from one thing to another thing. It's a good one. Good phrases. Uh, Now I want to, if there's a small point, you used so you were talking about the type of language to use, and you said polite and fancy. What did you mean by fancy language?
Maybe I use it wrongly, but fancy for me is when people saying um, with really beautiful long uh, tenses describing their ideas really. mm, I don't know, not always politely, but no,
Yeah, because politely could be simply adding little
yeah,
phrases like "would you mind" and "could you please" and "if that's
yeah,
okay," and things like that to soften language. There are a lot of little phrases that can make things more polite that are not necessarily fancy, right?
mm-hmm,
I want to if it's speech, um, we might use the word verbose, which is kind of a fancy word to be honest. If it's speech, verbose is a good one. If someone is verbose, they have access to a lot of language they can use when they're speaking,
mm-hmm,
spoken language specifically. Um, that might be a good one to use. Fancy is okay, but people might understand fancy in different ways. Sometimes fancy
mm-hmm,
is the sentence structure, but sometimes fancy is just adding a bunch of adjectives to it. And so it really depends on what
mm-hmm.
people mean. But if someone is verbose, then they're able to command a lot of language when they need it, when they're speaking, which is a yeah useful skill for sure. Well, thanks for doing the debate. I appreciate it. Do you have any thoughts or questions or concerns? It's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Any questions or remarks? I'm looking through the chat here to see if anyone has any questions for you or me. Mm-mm. Who is he? Someone says.
I'm a programmer.
You're a programmer. Okay. And
Yeah.
how long have you been doing that?
About 5 years.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Like I
Yeah.
lived in St. Petersburg, and 2 months ago I moved here in Sweden.
And do you like what you do? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, yeah, I really like
What do you like about it?
it. I like to work with computers. Like
Mhm.
when I was a kid, I used to doing something like inside of the computer or inside of software, like doing something, configuring something. So it's my thing. And even right now, I'm usually just spend all my time in front of the computer.
Yeah. It's a good way. It's a good way to live. Some people criticize the computer life, but I think a lot of things are more interesting on the computer than in real life. I was thinking this. I was at the supermarket the other day, and I was thinking, this isn't that interesting. This is real life, but it's just a bunch of fruit and vegetables. I would rather be at home on the internet. That's the thought I had. It's such a childish thought, but that's what I thought. I thought this is boring. I want to go home. Real life is becoming less interesting than the internet, which is quite interesting. All right. Well, again, I appreciate your time and doing this. Maybe we can do another one sometime if you like. No, do you have any questions for me before we call it a day?
No, everything was great. Thank you for having me, Luke.
One
It was really
one
cool.
small point I would give you on English. You're actually, I mean, you have a great command of the English language. You use language very well. You express yourself really well. And I'm not one to point out different dialects or accents because I don't care as long as you can express yourself, right? But there's one little sound that I a couple times misunderstood the word you said because of that
Mhm,
sound, and it's replacing the th sound with the f sound. Because there were a
mhm,
couple times when I had to think, what was that? I misunderstood. So only when it causes misunderstandings, you might want to consider that specific sound. Uh, like, for example, thing instead of thing, right? Because there are
mhm,
times when the F sound with the rest of the word there can actually be a different word. And if someone hears the other
mhm.
word, they might say, wait, what's that? And then they have to think about it a little more. So that's the only thing that really stuck out to me as something maybe to work on a little bit. But other than that, great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Vitalik, appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. Bye.
All right.
See you.
See ya.